Wang analysis I conceded. The NC is a clear negative ballot. Even if you don't think I'm winning the util framework, it is irrelevant at the point that there are multiple pieces of Wang analysis and why the abuse is regurgitated in the NAC world that are the reasons you vote for me. Even if you think the no offense claim, which is flipping in the 1AR, is sufficient to take out the disatt, they can't be sufficient because it is not terminal defense, it is just a uniqueness question, which is only mitigatory. So, AC. Starting on the framework. He ascends a lot of the ranking saying why I got to go for it. The argument he's misunderstanding is that the 3 point on the Harris evidence, I'm not making an extinction claim, I'm talking about how the choice is only a matter if you're alive, which means that life is a prerequisite to the evaluation of choices. He's nodding his head right now, which means you look to the utilitarian framework, he goes to that. Also, the rhetoric of the extension of the Kwong evidence proves that I am right in terms of the chicken versus activate here. The life is what matters first between the absolute and the violation of life before you can look at the choices of persons, and that is what stems violation. He's also conceded the one point that contradictions means we have to have consistent reasons to value life. He says I don't prove the contradiction right. I'm setting up leverage for my turns on the AC. The Camus evidence proves the contradictory reason, which means if I see the Camus evidence and have any risk of winning that, that's sufficient for me to prove the contradictory reason. Then he is conceding multiple reasons on the Levine evidence why victims, in order to protect our end-setting behavior, would choose util. He says it's not a question of choice, but conference evidence after round is talking about protecting their life and protecting their end-setting behavior. The first is the second argument. He says I say they will choose util because aggregation is the only way to ensure that when the individual is protected and that they're not more worth an opportunity to that. That's the reason you look to the NC framework. The second point is that it's the only way to preserve their end-setting ability in the first place. It's not an extinction claim, it's an individual death claim about how you cannot send ends if you're dead. 2 reasons to look to Thomas' framework. Also, the extension of Kwong, he literally said they cannot make choices if they're not alive. You have to look to util. Let's go to Camus. His geos evidence doesn't enter back and says we can't have our freedom to protect ourselves, but one, I answered the deterrence argument, so this doesn't have any sort of indication on the util debate. Extend this spillover argument. Second, the Camus evidence it says that we have an absolute value of life, and that we cannot use our freedom to constrain that value of life, because that just destroys our justification for action. If there is a freedom of person, that is only based on our value of life, and we destroy that justification with the action. We conceded, turn to the app. Also, the Davies evidence is a turn to the app, indicates women will not choose to leave because they will find it better and self-preservation to save the relationship. He is just saying it's about the legal standard, but my argument is that they would not choose to do it, that they will not protect their life away. He says it's about choices. I'm making that argument. Then go to the cell evidence. There's no spillover because the abuse will go unreported. He says it will be reported. My argument is they were not reporting because they're ashamed of the abuse or they'll be worried about prosecution. He's also not answering about the physical disparity. He says deadly force assault back. My argument is no. There can be a man who is taller and bigger than his wife has the ability to feel that he may be manipulated. Also, the argument as it was in the first speech is that the man thinks he has the advantage, so will still use deadly force. Not that he might actually have. Ryan is very simple. His framework class is util. That means go for me. No util offense. He's conceded deterrence. There's no turns for him there. The Wimberley evidence does not access util because that's just a reason they will be sent to prison, not a turn.
All right, 15. All right, so starting on the fiat argument on the NC, then going to the top of the NC on the framework answering util, and then go to the AC. Ready? All right. Big mistake spending like 5 seconds on this argument. Extend my argument that the resolution is not a question of fiat because the resolutional action has already occurred, i.e. the victim has already killed his or her abuser, which means that there is no evaluation in terms of when you compare the after world and the net world, they are both the same in terms of the legal system because the law will still prosecute them regardless, i.e. this is not a question of fiat. Both worlds are the same thing. He says it's a question of uniqueness. That doesn't make any sense because my argument is it is not unique with regards to the legal system, i.e. the only evaluation is the moral evaluation. His argument is not responsive. This means that he cannot get off until the NC because there is no fiat at all. All his arguments rely on the fact that there's going to be some sort of impact. So that's eternal defense on the NC. Then go to the top of the NC. Yeah, the bottom sentence of Sunstein says, the act omission distinction is defensible for individuals, means there is an act omission distinction for individuals. So he said that argument that is morally relevant in case the individual being the actor, because those who commit harms are more vicious than those who fail to take steps to prevent harm to others. He says the government is, he misunderstands. He thinks I'm reading the older side of the evidence that talks about the government, and I'm reading the new side of the evidence or the younger side of the evidence that talks about individuals, making a specific distinction between the government policy and the individual policy. My argument is that his argument is relying on the index being through like some sort of U.S. federal government, some sort of other agent. My argument is that the individual has the act omission distinction. That is a reason why you should not use utilitarianism. Basically, he says that this links in the Harris evidence because it talks about rationality and value of life, but no, he's shifting out of this argument. Kaminsky evidence is a direct response to a Kantian system. His argument is Kantian consequentialism, but I'm never justifying mine. I'm just saying that there's a value of life. It's not an absolute value of life because there's an exception when, because affirming is obviously permissible. There has to be an exception. The value of life is not absolute because there's a conflict, which is what I'm arguing in the AC. So that's Kaminsky evidence. Also, the Kaminsky evidence is just going to be defense against the Harris evidence. It does not link into the Harris evidence. Then you go to Foster. Except my number one that the fallacy of origin means that this argument is logically incoherent because it says that we are the source of value, therefore we should value humans, but he says there's no impact to the fallacy of origin. That doesn't make any sense. Your arguments don't have impacts if there's a fallacy of origin. It's just logically incoherent. You can't use an impact to justify the logic of an argument because the impact only occurs on the condition that the logic is true. Except the number 2 argument on postulate is infinitely regressive because you never know if it is necessary to have a reason to be alive or necessary for a reason to determine the life is valuable. It means it's singularly regressive, so that is certainly he's dropping that argument. So that means there's no offense there. Go to the AC. Extend here's the life value of we all have value in some part of our life. In fact, we all have value, but the fact that life generally has value. Then extend Levine that we can prefer our life over others in conflict, otherwise we would never be able to make any sort of choices. Then extend Kwong that we have value, gives permission to kill and self-defense because we cannot be expected to sacrifice life. He says that my extension of Kwong is no warranty from my arguments. That is because we have the ability to make choices. The choices arguments clear. He's misconstruing his choices arguments to say that like util impact, i.e. people wouldn't choose to do this. But he says, remember, extend my argument that it's an objective consideration, i.e. people objectively, it is an objective standard of the law of reasonableness. Extend my response to his argument about how we don't value reasons because my argument is that it's interrelated, i.e. choices are key to the part of life. Extend my number 1 that extinction only, extend my response to number 2 that extinction only is only in the condition when life is prerequisite. Then extend for you cannot determine self-defense based on all subjects doesn't have that is another reason to take out you to extend the after and go to contention. Extend making that it's 20% of situations without confrontation, like 4% of victims persuaded there's 100% straight lazy offense. I did Wayne in the last speech just said that this is a 100% straight link because they will have no choices at all in 84% of scenarios. All his offense just says that we're destroying the value of life, but really all his offense is just random links against existentialist positions for existentialist position or against the usual. None of this matters because the usual arguments are not relevant in the debate. It's just about in that individual scenario whether you make the individual choice. Noah was wondering if there's disclosure in finals or if there's an award ceremony. Does anyone know?
I mean, hopefully you'll find out who wins.
Right.
No, I
Yeah.
I mean, I would think so, because they said it didn't matter if we had ballots or not, so.
Right. So should we, should we just tell them then?
Yeah, I figured we should just tell them.
I've just been selecting the whole term. Someone told me they were weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah, I'm not good.
You guys are the only. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Mine is you saying I made sorry.
No, it's not good. I only have one. Yeah. What?
Can't tell. Maddie, do you want to announce this? Or
No, you announce it. Elect someone to be the chair and then announce it.
Yep.
I'm telling you.
I got all the speaker voice going.
You know, can I get some water? Yeah. I'm sick though.
Good actually. Really, my whole team's sick. Actually, it's not sick.
I don't know that.
Oh, no, it's not sick. Both floors. This place, you want to record the RTs? You want to record the RTs? Yeah, see, she said she doesn't want to record the RTs.